Hello, my name is Maria Isabel Angel from Colombia. I'm super happy to have this amazing guest with me. She's Mercedes Nieto. How are you, Mercedes?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Maria Isabel. I'm fine, and thank you so much for having me here. I hope everyone's fine. I'm very excited to do this.
Super, super. So let's start from the beginning. How did you began your dance career? What motivated you to dance and to fall in love with Oriental dance?
I was dancing different styles of dance since I was a kid. I started with jazz ballet and rock and roll and a little bit of Afro dance, flamenco dance, like a lot of things. Um, and I was into jazz ballet, and also in the same time I was very fascinated about ancient Egyptian culture. And once in the dance school where I was studying, I heard Egyptian music. I heard that there is an Egyptian belly dance class going on in the school, and I had no idea that there is such a thing as Egyptian belly dance. I was very into the history of Egypt, but I didn't know it has like a specific dance style. So I tried it. I went to the class, and I fell in love with the music, first of all, with the whole mystery, the movement, vocabulary of the dance. It was just fascinating. It kidnapped my heart, and never gave it back. So that's how it started.
Super, super. So it was the music, the movements, and the connection with the interested in the culture, in the history.
In the beginning, it was more about the curiosity, because it was an aspect of a culture that I was interested in and I was curious about, but I didn't know anything about this certain aspect. I didn't know much about Middle Eastern arts, music, dance forms. I was 16, so I started to dig in a little bit, to dive deeper. I studied a lot of dance, of course, first of all, but I also started to read more about the culture. And then when I got the chance, I started to travel, to understand more of it, of course. But the first period of time, it was something that drove me like to the music. So like an element of this mysterious and yet very familiar emotional word that is in the Middle Eastern music, that felt so much like arriving somewhere, like arriving home, but in the same time it felt like a whole different mysterious journey. So it was a very contradictional feeling, but a very exciting one. And of course the movement vocabulary, because in the beginning it was all about getting to know my body better, getting to accept and understand my body, and witnessing how other dancers and students in the group started to love their bodies as well. And I think it's all in a physical and emotional way as well. It was a very intense realization of a whole new world. And that fascinated me, and it still does.
So I have a question about how is perceived the dance in your country. Is it, for example, like in other countries of or Europe or Asia, where is like the dance is like at this competitive level, or is more just like for people being just happy and relaxed and being in shape? Also, how is considered and perceived the Oriental dance in your country?
Yes, it's much more the latter one that you said. We are not very competitive in belly dance here. Actually, it started like, let's say, the 10-15 years ago, when it was the peak of the fashion, the trend. It was very much about advertised as a hobby dance that helps you to, get closer to your femininity, that helps you to express yourself in the movement language. It gives you the ability to do an art form, even if you don't start as a kid. So it's kind of like it was all about opening doors for all kinds of people from all kinds of ages, backgrounds. Of course, we did have some competitions, like amateur competitions and this and that, like in festival frames, but it was never the priority actually here. So even until now, it's more about the joy, about and about the art also. Like we do have a lot of especially before COVID times, we did a lot of experiment in theaters, different theatrical productions. I think generally we approach it like a little bit between, like not so much like the Eastern European or Asian way, because we don't have like one specific style. So there are a lot of different influences, like Egyptian or even Western European or American influences, or Russian influences, but it's not like there is one specific style. We dancers here try many different things, and we kind of in between. Some, like, there are little competitions that people like to try, but there are more like theatrical productions, little shows, like school organizations. So it's still more about the well-being and the art aspect of the dance.
Mm-hmm. So talking about the styles, you have a very unique style. So which advice can you give the students and also the teachers and performers, just like how can they find their own style right now?
It's a very tricky question, and I get it a lot. But it's actually it it's a matter of time, because everything you experience in your life, everything you do, will be somehow part of you as a human being and as an artist as well. Everything you witness or everything you feel ever is going to be a part of you. You are like this one big puzzle, and everything, it's going to be a part of that puzzle. And so when you create a style, I think it's not so much of a conscious decision that, like, I'm going to go and create, but you already have it. I mean, you already have all those influences, experiences, emotional nuances in your life that you experienced before that are helping. The question is how to access them, how to be brave enough to prioritize that. And I think one very important thing to that is do not allow trends and fashions in general to make you anxious, to push you to follow something that you don't feel comfortable with. Don't worry about them so much. I feel like to think about what is really close to you, what touches your heart, what element of the dance or what aspect of the dance is what you feel more identified with, and explore that. And no matter what are the trends, like about dresses or body shape or costume or whatever, try to identify with what you feel close to your heart. And then probably it's not going to be something ready. You're going to have a little bit with this teacher or from that artist or from that style, or okay, this inspires me, but at the end you got to create it. So you don't have to follow something so strictly. Try to create, try to be open and brave, and believe that everyone's personal style somehow grew from that person's life experiences and personality. So you have the same, you are able to do the same. And I think it's one thing that, like, it's a decision that I'm going to be open enough, I'm going to be brave enough, and I don't want to follow something 100%. And of course, what helps technically is keep studying with many different teachers, identify what you really like and what you like because everyone else likes it. Make a difference, and keep challenging yourself. Try to dance challenging things, teachers who are maybe a little different or more complicated, or try different dance styles. I think that's also very interesting. I did that a lot. I did study with a lot of contemporary teacher, tango, flamenco, and I try every kind of dance that I can. But it's not only about dance. The interesting thing is that you gotta immerse yourself in every kind of art that is possible. Try to read, go to theater, listen to music, think, analyze, ask questions, notice life, notice a flower on the street, notice if someone needs help, try to be, try to immerse in life in a way to be connected to people as well. Like, I think keep asking questions, analyzing things, being open-minded and empathetic. I think it's very important aspects of shaping yourself as an artist. And that is going to be shown in your movements. And then you will get drawn closer and closer to what is specifically talking about you on stage, but it starts way behind the dance.
Mm-hmm. So you say something about the trends and the styles. So I have a question about what do you see right now in the social media? I mean, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. What do you see right now? Do you see a stuff that you like, or do you see a stuff that perhaps you will like to be a little bit different, maybe more elegant, more artistic? How do you see the dance, the Oriental dance right now through the social media?
I think social media is a trap, and I think I could, yeah, this is a cliche, what I just said, like, because everyone knows it's a trap, and everyone knows it's not the reality. But still, we have to remind ourselves sometimes that it's not the reality. And I'm not on social media very much. I think that's one of one of the secrets, that I'm very selective. So even on my, I don't follow a lot of people. And I don't watch it very often. My Instagram is full of like writers who I like, inspiring people from all kinds of fields of life, not just dance. So honestly, I don't see everything, even if I know about most of the things that are happening out there. I'm trying to not, let's say, not have too much of it, because of course, if you see everything in the same time all the time, you're constantly absorbing all that happenings around the world. It's so distracting, and it's so stressful, because artistic creation is, in a way, I think it's a way, in a way, it's a lonely thing. I mean, you do it yourself, you do it with your, dancers, friends, company members, whatever, but it's a creative process that is not, it's not possible to broadcast it all the time. So many beautiful, meaningful things are happening behind social media. Like, some of my favorite dancers almost never post anything, but then suddenly you just see a photo of a show which is supposed to be beautiful, but if you really want to be present in what you're doing, it's impossible to keep sharing it all the time, because you need to absorb, as I said, to be an artist, you need impressions, you need to absorb life, you need to immerse in life. Keep broadcasting that nonstop is taking you away from that opportunity. I don't say 100%, because there are so many amazing artists who are able to balance very well. I'm not able to balance very well. So usually when I post so much later and I forget and stuff. So I'm not very good in that. But I know there are people who are able to share their attention, and that's great. But it doesn't change my opinion about social media being, of course, a kind of illusion, because it's like constant information pollution in your brain about what you have, what you should do, and if you want to keep up with the trend, you should do that, you should look like that, you should do that. I think it's very tricky, because it's so different. For example, if you talk about like Egypt or the Middle East, what's happening there, like the styles are changing. There is a lot of foreign influences and different venues that are not like, we used to grow up watching. And of course, sometimes I feel that's like, disappointing. And sometimes I feel like, oh, this is not the kind of dance that I wanted to do. And this is not really why I started it. But then I realized that it's just a little part of it. And so many things are still happening behind that. And that's why I said you have to kind of stand firm, and not, even if you like the trend or you don't like the trend, don't let it disappoint you. Don't let it stress you. You only see a tiny little bit of what's actually happening. And I think I just, it's so hard to say that I don't like what's happening now, because before it was better, because I didn't see as much before. Like, no one saw everyone's rehearsal process from first step to the last step. You see it wasn't like that before. And so to me, I need a little more magic. I need a little more emotions. I don't like to watch social media a lot, because to me it kills the magic. It kills the my process that I want to imagine. I want to imagine understanding an artist's message. I don't necessarily need the message to be in my face all the time, so obviously. But that's a different thing, because social media has its rules, has its trends. it's kind of like a whole different profession now to do it good. And but be present, be visible. It doesn't mean that it will, change an artist's value. Maybe someone else is not so visible, but it doesn't change the value. It's just your perception of what you see. And I think it's very important to filter the content. You have to filter the content that you are absorbing or consuming, because it's getting too much, and that's the danger. I think we gotta be firm, and we're gonna say enough. Like, I don't need more information. I don't want to see more videos. I don't care about more trends, because when we started, it wasn't like that. I mean, there is a generation who is growing up now with all that information around, and I worry about that actually. How can they filter within all that information? But it's very important to stay a bit, just step back sometimes and question what you see and understand that it's not fully the reality. But in the same time, it's also great that you can see a lot of things that are happening, and maybe there are things you like. But then again, the question comes, do I really like it, or it's all over and I believe that this is how it should be done? So the problem with social media to me is that it needs a certain kind of maturity to be able to be selective. It's very different. Like, my personality is much more introverted. I don't feel comfortable about talking, even not sharing everything, but just like sometimes talking on social media. But I see so many people who do it beautifully, and I like to check in and see how they're doing. But honestly, I filter it very much, and I think we just gotta do a bit of a distance and a detox sometimes, and just don't believe what's happening there all the time. And I think it's trends are changing so much, so fast, and it's tricky because sometimes we feel that we are slower or left behind because we don't do that or stuff. But we can do so many other things. I mean, it's the same thing like finding your own style. Okay, so what do you want to share? Do you want to share anything? Maybe you just want to share a nice picture of a flower or whatever. And that's part of who you are. You don't have to constantly broadcast yourself to be seen and to be wanted. I don't know, but it's a very tricky question because it has so many psychological elements that I don't agree with and I worry about. But all in all, I don't worry so much about the trends because I can evaluate that what's reality and what's not, and what is valuable to me as a person.
Yeah. So you were saying something about styles, about where the dance is going, about the future of the dance. So what do you think about how can we still be connected to the roots of Oriental dance, but still being innovative? What can you say about this? How can we keep this relationship with the origin or with the basic, with the roots, and still be creative, innovative, and evolving?
Yes. So I think roots, it's kind of like a compass in your dance career, and it's always present. It's always there because you keep learning about them. You learn how to respect them. And they become kind of like a priority. Like, let's say it's like a compass in your career because it's a dance form that is coming from very specific cultural roots and backgrounds that we need to consider and respect. Of course, there are a lot of styles that evolved, but most of Middle Eastern dance styles have their roots in the culture. So we need to be cautious and understand and learn and constantly educate ourselves. No matter what, it's an infinitive project. And I think I always think about it as a compass. Like, if I have a doubt if something is appropriate or not, I just try to think of the culture as a bit as a whole, more like a complete whole thing. And it's kind of intuitive also. If you study a lot about the roots and the culture, you will be able to incorporate them. And I always think about it visually. Like, if you actually really imagine them as roots, they're always there. in the ground, right? And you're growing out of that. But then when you're growing, it's like you're growing your artistic personality. You become the tree. And then there are a lot of benches, and then there are the flowers, and those are individual. Those are your personal additions. Those are your inventions or your experimental elements, or everything that creates your tree, an individual one. And that can move, and that can be flexible, and that can be colorful and very, very personal, but your roots are there in the ground. So I think we have this connection always, this kind of important connection to the traditional styles, the musicality, the cultural aspects, questions about stage communication, for example, or folklore. A lot of elements that connect us to the traditional source, but in the same time, you can be brave and experimental and understanding the origins, and you still create your own personal tree.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So talking about, you have a super interesting workshop that you are going to share with us in the festival. It is musical poetry. So perhaps you can explain to us how to achieve this in our dance, and maybe a little bit of what we're going to work and learn from you in the festival.
Yes. So originally I studied in the university literature and philology, and I was always very into poetry. And actually the idea of this whole workshop, or this project that I'm working on, it comes from my studies. I was studying literature and dance as a poem, and poem as a dance. We do have a contemporary style established here in Hungary, actually, that was a dance style and still exists, using only words and poetry for their movement creation. And that was like inspiring idea to me, that I was thinking how much poetry affects us as well as Oriental dancers or Middle Eastern dance style fanatics, let's say. It's not really an exact term, the dance poetry, musical poetry. It's just something that, it's not really what you achieve. It's something more like you're merging things that you love, and then you understand how can they help each other, how can they support. For example, to me, poems like words, metaphors, description of sensations, everything that poetry does, that sophisticated layering understanding of reality, that is very similar to what dance is doing. And in a way, we do use our own words to create our own story. Our words are movements, and they are also very nuanced and sophisticated, and they can create all kinds of story. Even if you want it or you don't want it, it's there. And I just like to use the tool of poetry and the poetry understanding to create a more sensitive, detailed dance expression or expressive dance style. So the expressive possibilities in the poetry and dance are that interested me, and I started to thinking about them as a whole, and how can they serve each other at the end to express your story in a different way. So what we are going to do, we are going to play with music, with a combination where we are going to go through how you can perceive, for example, the story of the song or the lyrics of the song as a poetry that you can approach to. How do you approach? How can you translate such a story in your dance? How can you relate to words? So we will also try that, but just to try a little bit of dance only with words. What moves you when you don't hear the music, but you only imagine a feeling, because every word is recreating a feeling, a thought and a feeling. So your body can react to those as well, such as you react to music. You can react to those physical impressions in the body. So we are going to go through that idea using words, and also, of course, a dance combination where we will try to reach that expressivity that comes from the poetic music. So it's an experimental topic, but I'm working on it a lot nowadays, and it really excites me. And like my experience is that it inspires students as well. So
Super. We are super excited to to have you here in the festival, and also to study this with you, because I think that sometimes, many dancers or students, they just dance because the movements are pretty, but the movements are not connected with the emotion, or even the lyrics, or even the emotion of the song. So it's like everything goes to different ways or sides. So I think it's workshops like this are super super important for us as students and teachers, so people can get deeper dance, deeper connection with the feelings, with the soul. And it cannot be just uh, something superficial, or just like a movement, just to do a cute movement and that's it. So I think it's super important, and we are super excited to be in your workshop.
Me too. I'm very excited that I'm going to do that. And thank you so much for inviting me to this. And I'm very excited to meet Colombian students for the first time, even if just online. But it's gonna be a very, very beautiful event, I'm sure, and I'm excited to be part of it. So thank you.
No, thank you. So thanks everybody. I know that Mercedes is super busy, and also everybody is busy right now. So a short and amazing and good and interesting interview is always super welcome and super good. So thank you so much for this time that you spent with us. Thank you everybody for connected. So Mercedes, thank you. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Nos vemos prontito.
Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye bye. Ciao.